Is it possible to have a healthy Halloween? I do believe it is, and that's what we're going to talk about right now in this video. I'm Dr. Michael Smith. I'm a naturopathic physician who loves helping individuals and families live healthy lives as best as they can. Halloween is around the corner. It's next week. And the type of food that we put into our bodies and the type of food that we let our kids put into their bodies makes a difference for their health, period. I've seen it. I've looked at the research. It's true. I recently just recorded a video about the effects of red number 40 artificial food colorings and ADHD. Talked a lot about that. That is tied directly to this. I invite you to go check out that video as well. This one is going to be focused on candy, on sugar. There is so much sugar that happens, especially at Halloween. It's like the mainstay of the holiday is trick-or-treating, trunk-or-treating. Businesses give out candy. People give out candy. They love it. It's part of our culture. It's not necessarily I love the culture aspect, but I don't love the candy aspect of it. I'm going to share probably an unpopular opinion that there's no such thing as healthy candy. What do you think? Do you agree? I don't believe that any candy you get from the store is truly healthy unless it's like really natural. Okay, maybe for that 99% true. There might be a 1% where it truly is healthy. But there is an effect that sugar has on our body. Sugar is just as addicting as cocaine. It has the same effect. Let's dive into this. There is a part of our brain called the limbic system. The limbic system is involved with fear, with anxiety, with reward, with pleasure. There's a specific part of our brain right in the middle, kind of middle front, but pretty much smack dab middle, called the nucleus accumbens. Food scientists have figured out the exact formulation of sugar, fat, and salt to optimally stimulate the nucleus accumbens. That is why really rich fatty food that's also sweet, I'm thinking donuts, taste really good. Because they're designed to. Our body likes it. Dopamine is involved. But guess what also triggers the nucleus accumbens? Cocaine. And some studies that I've read show that sugar is just as or even more addicting than cocaine. So is it fair to maybe think that candy companies might be a form of drug dealers? I wouldn't say that too much, but what effect is this having on our brain? If we're becoming addicted to sugar as individually and as a society, just as much as cocaine provides an addiction, is that not a form of drug? Maybe? Think about. I'm not going to focus on this so much as I am going to talk about how we can navigate sugar. On my YouTube channel, you're watching this on YouTube, I have made a video about 10 ways of saying no to sugar in our home. And this is not just candy, but this is thinking holistically. I'm not going to repeat the things that I shared in that video, but go check it out because it goes into very tangibly practical ways that we can change the conversation about sugar in our home and with our kids. Okay, first I want to talk about candy that we should avoid. I mentioned artificial food colorings. Any candy that has artificial colors for me is a no-go. Like, that's honestly probably the top of my list of don't eat. After trunk or treat, my wife got a bowl. We got some non-dyed candy. I'll talk about that in a minute. We got some like quarters and 50-cent pieces, things like that. And our kids traded their colorful candy for other rewards, money or non-dyed candy. So we don't have dyes. We kind of just cut that out. Our kids know that. They respect that. We let them eat other candy. It's a continual balance for me, even in my household, because I want my kids to have a good Halloween, but I don't want them to eat colorful candy. Now, the next three are kind of the dentist ideas of things that candy that affects the teeth the most. There's the sticky, chewy candy, the Laffy Taffies, the caramel, the Tootsie Rolls. There's acidic candy, the Sour Patch Kids, Warheads, really things that are really acidic, and hard candy, especially that stays in the mouth for a long time. All of that candy creates a perfect environment for bacteria to thrive in the mouth, and that causes the enamel in our teeth to wear down. So that's more the dentist perspective. I fully think that's true too, because what happens in our mouth also affects our gut. Our digestive system is not separate. So yes, there might in the healthcare system, there's kind of this differentiating factor between the mouth, or at least the teeth, with the rest of the body. The stuff that dentists do, stuff that the doctors do, but really they're all connected. High fructose corn syrup. There's this influence of farm subsidies for corn. We're literally paying taxes for high fructose corn syrup to be in our diet, in our food system. And the problem with that, with corn syrup, and specifically high fructose corn syrup, is that our body has specific mechanisms in place to regulate sugar, specifically glucose. If glucose wants to enter the doors into a cell, it needs to be a glucose molecule. And there's kind of this regulatory mechanism through insulin, through other things, that keeps sugar where it needs to be and not where it shouldn't be. Fructose doesn't have those same things, so it can take the lightning lane at Disney or whatever the equivalent is, bypass those regulatory mechanisms and get into the cell where it makes this effect on our sugar, on how we feel. That's why when you eat anything with a lot of fructose, even fruit, it tastes really sweet, like juice, fruit, things like that. I try to avoid high fructose corn syrup. Next, maybe slightly better than the list I just shared, is the yellow list. Chocolate generally creates a histamine reaction. If there's a patient that is really sensitive to histamine, I'm going to tell them to cut out chocolate. I think this is especially true with milk chocolate. And milk chocolate often has other chemicals, things in it as well. There's candy that is just really concentrated sugar. Like candy corn. Candy corn, it does taste good. I haven't eaten it for a while, but I do like it. It's just pure sugar. And the food dyes aside, you're not getting a lot of nutrients for that sugar. And then there's candy, as I mentioned, that has just artificial ingredients. I tell my patients, if you can't pronounce the ingredient, you probably shouldn't be eating it. It's probably not good for you. Things to keep in mind. Okay, so if you're going to eat candy, this is what I would go for. I'd go for dark chocolate. There's antioxidants. There's research that shows it helps with heart health, with so many other things in the body. Dark chocolate is great. Again, histamine is involved here too. If you're sensitive to histamine, dark chocolate will still not be ideal. I like homemade candy. And with thinking about everything that we've been talking about, the nice thing about homemade candy is you know what's inside of it. You've made it. Maybe our family, my wife's family, makes their homemade Tootsie Rolls. It's a honey candy with carob in it and powdered milk. That's effectively what it is, with maybe a few other vanilla and maybe salt. it's fun to be able to make. It's an experience, be able to roll it out, make shapes and things like that. But you know what's in it. Candy with nuts. I know there's the issue with peanut allergies, but nuts generally have protein in it. Protein helps buffer the rises of blood sugar. We need to be able to control that. Not exactly as much true with peanut butter, but with pure nuts, peanut M&Ms, things with nuts in them are more optimal than not. And then there's the naturally colored, allergen-free, no high fructose corn syrup candy that I think is better for everybody. Yum Earth brand is the brand that I think of. It's a little more expensive, but they have these giggles, the picture that I showed. It's like the Skittles, effectively. They've got the Starburst effect equivalent, these little squares, and they've got other candy as well that does have sugar, but it's better for us because we don't have all the gunk in it that makes other candy not great. So then you're wondering, like, okay, great, you've shared this list of things that you should and shouldn't eat, and like, what do I give out at Halloween? Great question. You can weave into this as much as the previous lists with avoiding that, maybe thinking about this, but really focusing on this. But there's also other non-candy alternatives. There's maybe don't give up fruit or homemade things, but you can get fruit leather without high fructose corn syrup. There's fruit snacks, especially the healthy, organic, non-artificial dyed fruit snacks. Pencils, toys. We've given out pretzels before. Kind of a nice alternative to candy. So there are options, and people can be creative. I saw somebody at the trunk or treat that we were at give out Capri Suns. And I'm not going to go into all the ingredients that could be in there, but the idea like juice boxes or other things like that was kind of an interesting, like, oh, that's a cool idea. Now that we have that, what do we do with it? Kids went trunk or treating. We have this candy. We want them to eat some of it. We don't want them to eat some of it. What do we do? Well, number one, I shared one idea that we did with our kids, switching out the candy with food dyes. It's effectively this idea. This is from my Superhero Foods on Instagram. Again, go check them out. Amazing content. And this kind of reflects the idea that I've gathered from a lot of different health conscious people on social and elsewhere, from a variety of backgrounds, holistic dentist, a researcher, I believe it was Dr. Ben Bickman, who's done a lot with insulin resistance. I believe it was him that talked about it as well. But this idea of starting with a nutrient-rich dinner and then a nutrient-rich dessert, allowing kids to go trick-or-treating, having a little bit of it, but then swapping that out with a toy, a game, candy, or not candy, toy, game, money, something like that. Something that's rewarding for the kids. Maybe for some kids it's a video game or just cash or a toy or something. So they go through, they have the experience, they get to dress up, have fun, go do the party stuff, get candy, but then not have the after effects of eating candy. That doesn't always work though. My daughter loves her candy. She protects it like a castle protecting a very valuable treasure. She loves her candy. There's, I think, better ways of eating it than not. And I think the problem that we see with teeth especially and blood sugar is the grazing, like eating a little bit of candy throughout the day. Through just progressively. That candy, that sugar stays in our mouth, or our mouth is designed to clear itself out, and it's not able to do that because there's always sugar. So there's sugar that feeds bacteria. Bacteria produce acid. Acid breaks down teeth. That comes from eating candy consistently. So eating it in chunks are probably better than eating it little by little throughout the day. In our family, we limit candy to before 4 o'clock Because we found that if our kids eat candy after 4 p.m., they're not able to go to sleep as well. And as a parent, I need a little bit of quiet sanity before I can go to bed, after the kids go to bed. So keeping it, limiting its consumption to like, okay, eat your breakfast and then you can have candy until 3, 4 p.m., whatever it is. Setting those time limits can also make a difference. Again, going back to the grazing, they're not eating it throughout consistently, but chunking it in particularly defined parts of the day. Obviously, there's the idea of out of sight, out of mind. Unfortunately, that doesn't work with Halloween candy because kids always think about it because we talk that dopamine, a reward effect that we talked about. If kids eat some candy, I've noticed with our kids, they want to eat more candy and more candy. Ultimately, we can't be afraid to throw it away. I know it's hard. It's food. We feel like we're wasteful. There's the idea of donating it. I'm like, I've struggled with that. I'm like, why would you donate candy that you're not going to eat because it's unhealthy and you're giving it to somebody else so they can eat it even though it's unhealthy? I really think it needs to go in the garbage. And I'm a little strict on that, at least with me. Other people might not feel that way. There's other good things that you can do with your candy. But it's just whatever resonates with you and your perspective on the subject. Bottom line, I would hope that we can help ourselves and our kids and our families foster a good relationship with food. We want food to be a good thing, a nourishing thing. That's why I talk about eating whole foods and eating foods that are helpful and strengthening to our bodies. It needs to be positive. It needs to be a positive experience. And when it's not, that's when issues can come down the road. We talked about a lot of things about candy, about Halloween, how to navigate it. I'm sure I could keep going, but I'm going to stop there. You know your kids best. These are things that I've researched, I've thought about as a physician, as a father, somebody who's helping improve the health of my community, that I feel like are important. I'm excited and I'm grateful I've been able to share them with you, and I hope they're helpful. This is not every answer to every question that you're going to experience. So you're going to need to make those decisions for you. But I hope this has been empowering for you. If this has, please give us a like, please subscribe to this channel, and I will see you on the next video. Have a great day, happy Halloween, and be well.